Welcome to AccountKit. In this video, we are going to showcase how to set up your practice settings for workflow, ensuring that you kick off on the right foot. Under your name down the bottom left as a practice administrator, you will see the option to select practice settings. From this screen here, we're going to move across to tool settings, and on the very bottom of your left-hand side list, you will find workflow. This is where we can design all of the workflow elements required for each of our clients. First, our number one toggle here is, do we want jobs to auto-assign to the next user upon task completion? This means that if a job has a step that needs to be completed by a particular user and they tick that element off, whoever the next user on the list is, the job will automatically assign to that person, creating convenience in your practice. Next, we have the ability to share daily plans across your practice. This is your planning phase or planning calendar where you can drop in your work and projects on a timeline for people to view. Now, some practices may want to restrict that down to a certain level of staff or higher. By selecting employee at this level, that means all staff can see all daily plans. By moving this up to something like partner means that you need to either be a partner or an administrator in AccountKit in order to be able to see everyone's daily plans. We then come down to our workflow. Underneath status flows, where we will start here, we have the ability to set up the way that statuses move through the business. So when a job goes from contact client to work in to in progress, we have those statuses available for selection. You can customize these simply by clicking on one of those tiles and adjusting them accordingly to your preferences and even your color design. To add a new status in, we simply select Create New down the bottom, allowing us to create a new status. There is also the option to select a completed status on the tick box selection. And this ensures that you can have multiple statuses that may mean that the job is finished or necessarily completed in order for it to remove itself from lists so that you're not clogging up your workflow information with things that are complete or done. Once you have a pick list of statuses on the right, you then have the ability to add those statuses to workflows on the left. So a standard compliance job would typically have these steps. A standard follow lead component will have less steps accordingly because there is nothing to lodge. And a simple in and out job may just be open and close. To add any elements to these, you simply drag and drop the element you would like to have from your pick list into the order on the current flow of your requirement. To add a new flow, we hit Create New, or to edit an existing, we select the three dots next to the name of that flow. The next section in workflow is our work types, and this is a breakdown of the different work that we might do or may want to report on within workflow. Put simply, we may have a number of compliance jobs in our organization. However, we may want to separate these out from FBT, super, tax, and so on. You may even want to get as granular as representing this as data against the different entity types like partnerships or trusts or so on. You can add new status types by hitting Create New down the bottom, or you can edit an existing work type by clicking into the work type and adjusting accordingly. We then move down to priority flags, and these are our ability to set the priority we would like to allocate to certain jobs to showcase how important it is for us to get this one out the door. As you will know, in most businesses, low and very low do not exist, but these are our standard template items that you can remove, make changes to, or adjust simply by clicking on that element. We then jump down to user roles, and most importantly, the three top roles are the ones you're going to utilize most in your system. The client authority is who you assign to a particular job type, meaning that the system will automatically generate a BAS job and assign it to that particular authority or the person who normally or typically does a type of work for that client, let's say a tax return or a BAS. The partner and manager fields come in from your XPM integration. However, if you're not using an XPM integration, you can simply use these as partner and manager representations in the software. Again, work can be allocated to a partner or manager as required. And then below that we have our various roles. And these roles can be unique to your organization or business. Finally, we have practice authorities. And practice authorities are the different services that you offer on a regular basis. So when a business or an individual comes into your organization and engages you in the practice, you can set the different work types or the menu of services that you deliver by adding authorities. To create a new authority, we select Create New down the bottom, and we simply type in the type of work that we would like to do. Let's say advisory in this example. Then we set the availability of how often we do that work for a client, and maybe we complete monthly and annual advisory work for our clients. And then we select Create. Where an element is always annual, something like FPT, you do not need to select a frequency, and you'll note that the top 3 elements here around tax return and activity statement and annual review are all locked. This is because tax return and activity statement come in from the Prepare Tax field and the Prepare BAS field in XPM, and annual review relates to the company annual reviews coming in from Now Infinity or CAS 360 based on your corporate compliance system. Each one of these elements then drives workflow under your client screen. So if we jump across to clients now and select one of our clients, we now have the ability to say Ben Buckets has joined the organization. We're going to complete a tax return, and the person who will be doing it will be Fernanda. Or we may complete payroll on a weekly basis for them, and it will be Jesse who's going to complete this work, meaning this drives your workflow without ever having to touch your workflow templates. And that is a quick look at your workflow settings under Practice Settings. Have a great day.